All right, we're here on the Abundance2Give podcast, and today we have a very special guest, Mr. Chris Luna.
What's up, man?
How are you?
I'm doing well.
I mean, the last time we actually saw each other, we were at Ryan Panetta's WealthCon in Vegas.
Yeah.
Was that June? June of 2020? June of this year?
July 12th.
Okay.
I don't know how to do the exact date.
What do you remember from that conference that you took away?
Let's see. That was the one that was in Vegas.
Right. Carlos Reyes. He had Brad Lee.
Oh, that's right.
Brandon Turner.
He had the sales guy. Yeah, a lot of big players there.
Yeah.
What I always recognize is I'm taking the correct successful actions, and I know you are too, by posting consistently on social media. Mm-hmm. Because when I go to those events, I get recognized. I'm not saying I'm like this big famous guy now, but people always walk up to me like, dude, I watch your content. It's helpful. And so to see the little ripple effect to be able to help others, that always stands out to me because I didn't have that just 1 year ago or even 6 months ago.
How did you find, when you talk about posting, is there a methodology? Do you have somebody running it for you? How has that helped? Because I know you went through Ryan Panetta's kind of content courses and stuff, right? Yeah. So what did you learn through that, and how is that now starting to grow your audience?
Yeah, I went through, at the time, it was last September 2022, I signed up for Creator. It was called Creator Empire at the time.
Right.
And now it's called Wealthy Creator. I was one of the first students. And from it, I just learned exactly what he was doing because he shows up on these Tuesday calls at 11:30 and he'll tell you exactly what he's doing. Like, I'll hear about stuff before he tells his sales team. And so I'll know like what exactly they're doing, what funnels are working, what's not working. He's very transparent. So I appreciate that because you're just able to learn a lot quicker. So if it took him like 5 years to do something, maybe I can learn to do it in 2 years.
Right. Fast track.
And so I committed on February 18th to post. I was at 10X Growth Con to post 365 times in 365 days. Okay. So once a day. And that's been the game changer because what I've seen is I've evolved on how I speak, like what I post. Is it motivational? Whatever it is, it's just I'm becoming a better communicator online.
Because Instagram is a funny game and it's changed a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm not even on Facebook anymore. Are you even on Facebook anymore?
Not at all. I mean, like my stuff posts there, but I don't.
Yeah. And then are you on TikTok?
I am on TikTok.
Okay. Has that benefited your Instagram? Because I'm not on TikTok. I feel like, damn, I have so many of these freaking things.
I know.
It's, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, for the most part, LinkedIn.
A little bit, yeah.
Which one have you seen the best growth on? Which one do you use the most now?
Instagram for sure. That's just when I'm going to conferences, that's where I'll get people to go to. But I still post on LinkedIn and also Twitter. I have Anna doing it for me where they're just repurposing a lot of the live streaming I'm doing for those platforms to bring more traffic to the podcast and to the live stream to just bring awareness. I don't think I've seen big growth on those other platforms, and I'm okay with that. I just want people to be able to find me, even if it's one person, and then they jump to my Instagram and then I nurture them there. I think that's a win-win for them and for me.
Did Ryan ever talk about not focusing on the likes or the comments or the view count?
Yeah, he's talked about that. Like they call them vanity metrics, and I agree with that. But it's hard not to because you see it and you're like, okay, this post did 20 likes, 30 likes. And then so what does that tell you? It tells you that maybe your messaging was off. Maybe there wasn't enough value in that specific post. Whereas sometimes I'll get 100 likes and then I'll think to myself, okay, repeat successful actions. Do that. Like people like that post clearly.
Successful actions?
Yeah. So take successful actions. So if you're posting something and it gets 100 likes or 200 likes, for me, that was a successful post because your community told you it was. Yeah. So then I'll try and I'll do
copy, paste, repeat.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
Something similar. Maybe copy that framework.
Where do you find the most? Is it motivational stuff that most people are going after? Life-changing stuff? A
little bit of everything for me. Like when I motivate people, I think that's great. But if I was to motivate people all the time, that could be a little boring.
Sure.
Kind of like with anything in life.
You'd be Mr. Rah-Rah.
Yeah, exactly. That's not who I am. So I try to dabble with real estate. I'll talk about this. I'll talk about that. Whatever.
So you got into the real estate investing world through student housing, is that right?
That's right.
2016?
2016.
Is that when you started Luna Capital?
No. Luna Capital was something that came about down the road, and it's the student housing was just a single family home with friends.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And it was ADUs. So now it's ADUs. But it started with student housing, moved into ADUs.
Yeah.
That's kind of your go-to, I guess, call yourself through the expert through the ADU world here in San Diego and around the area.
Yeah.
Any other areas of the real estate field that you want to talk about today? Because I do want to dive into the ADU side as to where things are at today, the processes to get things approved in San Diego, which would then probably correspond amongst other areas. And where do you see that market in the future?
Yeah. So, I mean, we could talk about all types of real estate, but yes, I'll just give a little backstory. I started with ADU, or just buying single family homes.
Yeah.
And adding walls. That was the ultimate value add. Like, we're in a room right here and you can add some walls here, there, and then create a fourth bedroom or a fifth bedroom. And when you're renting by the bedroom to students, at the time, maybe I was getting $1,000 a bedroom. All of a sudden, your rents go from a 3-bed getting $3,000 to $5,000.
Yep.
And I only put in $5K, $10K.
Yep.
So when I did that, I thought I was so smart. I was like, I'm a genius. This is game over. I'm gonna make a lot of money. But it wasn't until 2-3 years later, once I started learning about ADUs and building detached accessory dwelling units in the backyard, and now I can add a 4-bed, 2-bath for $200K, and my rents are approaching 10, 11, 12K. Now I'm really starting to get excited.
Are they 2-bedroom, 2-baths in the back?
The 1,200 square footers, because of student housing, they're okay with smaller rooms typically.
It's a 1,200 square foot unit.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's the max you can build in California. So we'll do 4-bed, 2-baths. Yeah.
Gotcha. In the 1,200 square feet?
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
I'll give you the floor plan. If this was a 600 square foot bottom, like 30 by 20, we would do living room, 1 bedroom, and a bathroom.
Yep.
All downstairs. Upstairs, you have 3 bedrooms in the corners, stackable washer dryer, and then a bathroom.
Gotcha. Would you just stack 2 separate units though?
It's one big unit with stairs that connect it.
Okay.
Students like to live with their friends. That's the college experience. So I could do 2 ones.
So you're saying it's more efficient to do your method because they'll get three of their friends, right?
And
total of 4.
Pay more, yeah.
Gotcha. Interesting.
This is what's crazy is when I started, it was like $1,000. Then I started leasing these for $1,200, 9 months in advance to SDSU students. So we're leasing right now for next year.
Yep.
Right now, my leasing agent's telling me she's getting like $1,500 a room. That's insane.
That's wow.
So
with San Diego State, and I know you're probably familiar with this because I was chatting with Rudy Medina, who you know as well.
Yeah.
And they just finished their Montezuma project over there, and they have another one coming.
Yep. I voted on that one.
You did?
I was on the planning board.
Look at you.
Yeah.
Because now they're changing the general plan for that area.
Yep.
Ordinances and stuff. It's basically become like a little Italy. They're going to bring in like a promenade and walkability, and Montezuma and College Avenue are all kind of changing. Is this kind of what I'm understanding?
Yep.
The big picture of it.
Exactly.
So that's going to allow kind of some mid-rise buildings, maybe I call it type 3 construction, where they do concrete with then wood above it.
Yep.
What do you foresee for the San Diego? Because they're growing. San Diego State is, with the development down by Snapdragon and all that going in, and the student population up by the school. Next 5 years, what does San Diego State look like? And are you bullish on that area?
Yeah, I am. I think that the football one of the big developers out there, I think his name's Fred Pierce.
Okay.
He's built like Boulevard 63 on El Cajon. He just has like 100.
Which is great. That's an awesome development.
Yeah, he's got that project. One I voted on was on Montezuma, where the old McDonald's was. I don't know if you remember that area at all. Right by to the right of that AKIO sorority house. There's a 4.0 deli. He's developing all of that right now. The project's almost done. But anyways, what he says is follow where there's good football teams. Because if there's a good football team and it's on the come up and they're doing well, that attracts more tenants. And so people naturally migrate there.
So should we be looking at Colorado now with Deion Sanders maybe?
Maybe. Yeah.
Maybe a little, where are they, the Buffaloes? Colorado,
something like that.
Colorado Buffaloes?
I think so. My buddy Blenders, not Blenders, Chase from Blenders actually is doing like a collaboration with Deion, and like it's blowing up the glasses.
Yeah, so is Chase the owner of Blenders?
Yeah, my buddy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's chat about that, because I actually just bought some blenders, and they're a San Diego-based company.
Yeah.
What is their story?
Yeah.
I mean, I know they started here, and he was selling out of the back of his car, and like it's an amazing story. Are they a $1 billion company yet?
That's a good question. They might be on their way now with this whole Deion Sanders thing.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
legit.
know. Yeah,
I mean, I saw him like wearing his little gold things. Deion Sanders, like, yeah, these are my blenders.
Yeah,
and he's like throwing them off to his buddies. And Dwayne the Rock Johnson, he's like, hey, Dwayne, put on my blenders.
Insane. Like what? And I thought that like Chase had like already made it because he already sold off like a lot of the company, I think, at one point, like for 90 million already. He still owned 25%, but to see him push
Does
in
he
and
still own
I think he still owns that last, whatever it is. I don't know.
All right. Well, okay. So he doesn't have controlling interest, but he's still heavily kind of sitting there collecting some checks.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
but now it can be run as, a big dog space. Maybe I don't know if he has any say on the board or if he's just
I don't know what that all looks like, but super proud of him to see him continue to push through even after a big payday to push through and then get to that next level. Like, that's impressive.
Well, I'm sure he had what they call an earn-out, right? When they put these deals together and they give you that earn-out time frame, they usually will have the owners on the board heavily involved for a certain period of time, 2, 3, 4 years on the earn-out side of it to get their big payday. So what is that, his story? Because I mean, I don't know much about it. I know he has great glasses.
Yeah.
And I wear them, love them. And I think they're great. And now Deion Sanders is rolling in the gold and the prime time, and it's
so awesome.
freaking hilarious.
Yeah. I knew Chase back in college. I think we're about the same age or so, more or less the same. So, and I know he started the company with someone else. We used to sit in this mastermind group where it was like him, some of the Pure Vita guys, and we sit around a table and talk about the business. At the time, Chase was buying out his business partner. And obviously, he believed in the company and the vision and wanted control of it, and he bought his business partner out. That's all I really remember. But he started just, little humble companies selling out.
Yeah, I was reading the article. I started selling out of the back of his car. Like, dude, which was why they keep the price point of the glasses reasonable.
Yeah.
They're only $40, $50, $60.
Yeah.
Whereas we all know, the reason I don't buy expensive glasses,
you're going to lose them.
Lose them.
Yeah.
Or I break them when they go in the Atlantic Ocean, like my last pair did down in, Miami with my son. So that's why I'll only spend $20, $30, $50 on glasses.
Yep.
Whereas some people go out and buy these crazy $300 pair and then they're pissed off when they're gone.
Lost my last pair in Cabo.
Were they $300?
They were a little more. on that pair.
You're crazy.
Yeah, I know. I bought it.
Now you buy blenders.
Yeah, well, maybe I get a free pair from him here and there.
I love it. So with San Diego State, where do you see that going in the next, say, 5 years along College Boulevard, Montezuma?
Yeah, I think it's going to continue to grow. There's been some studies. Well, I used to be on the college board and community council, and they're saying they don't think it's going to grow. There's kind of this push and pull dynamic between the people that have lived there since the 50s and 60s when it was all built. They don't think it's growing based on some scientific studies they've looked into, but from what I see is there is demand for our units, and that's all that matters. And I know there's demand because there's upward pressure on the rents. But
they're growing. They've agreed to grow the student body like 30%.
Yeah. I think they're at 30,000, and the plan was to get to 50,000.
Yeah.
And what the community is saying is they've looked at all these, like, this is like the community council. They're saying that they don't see the growth based on this. I forget. There's some PDF online that shows the growth.
Yeah.
But I see it growing.
That just doesn't add up with reality. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can get all scientific you want, but when you look at the push and the demand into the university, San Diego in general, and then of course if they keep winning basketball situations, and if the football team is decent.
Greek system's huge. A lot of our tenants.
Still?
Yeah. The Greek system's huge. I was in the Greek system there.
What are you?
Sigma Alpha Epsilon.
Okay.
SAE.
SAE.
Oh. What's that mean? What's that reaction?
Well, so my brother was SAE.
Oh, there you go.
Same assholes everywhere.
I knew you were going to say that. Might be true, might be false. Well, we'll decide at the end of this podcast.
Yeah, my brother was an SAE at Santa Clara.
Okay.
I was Sigma Nu, which I don't even know what that stands for, but still Sigma Nu because you
guys have like the snakes, right?
Yeah.
Yellow and black.
Yellow and black.
How did I know that?
I don't know. Jeez, SAE. That's
good.
Cool. No, I'm just kidding about that, by the way. Motivational stuff.
Yeah.
Because I know you're into that, and we kind of share the same, mindset of growth and self-development and all these things. What do you feel if someone's kind of looking at this and saying, yeah, I want to get into real estate investing. I want to do this. I want to do that. But what do you think holds a lot of people back?
Probably the fear and judgment of others is the number one thing. A lot of people say they want to create content. They'll maybe post for, 3, 4, 5 days, maybe a week or two will go by. They're not seeing any traction. They start getting in their own heads. I'm not getting the likes. I'm not getting the views. I'm not getting the shares. I'm not making an impact. But it's all just BS. Like you are. Even if you help that one person that was having a bad day, they saw your post, you changed the trajectory of their day. So in my opinion, it's the fear and judgment of others' opinion of them. Could be your mom, could be your dad. could be a girlfriend, all these people in your life who maybe tell you or trying to pull you back and maybe pull you back to their reality. So I think fear of judgment is the biggest thing.
What would you say, your biggest core values? Or is it fitness? Is it faith? Is it integrity, honesty? Like if you were to say, here are my like top 3 or 4.
Yeah, I think a lot of things start with faith in yourself, faith in believing there's a higher power, whether that's, whether you pray to God or whatever your faith is, that's important. And then having integrity, doing what you say you're going to do is super important to me. It always has been. So I'm a little mad at myself because today I was supposed to be here at 11 and I got here at 11:05. So my integrity.
Damn you.
I know,
Chris.
but hey, at least I'm honest. My integrity fell a little bit today. My confidence in myself dropped.
We can't hang out anymore, dude.
I know, right? But hey, so integrity is huge. I think taking care of your body and fitness is super important. If I can show up before I even walk into a room and I say anything, they're judging you based on how you look. And so that could be something people might want to pay attention to.
Yeah, it's funny. My business partner, Chris Poland, I'm like, Chris, no, dude. He's a tech guy. He's in the tech industry and done extremely well for himself. But he's been like, yeah, I'm trying to like cut down, slim down. I'm like, well, why is it so important? He's like, well, Justin, and I don't mean this across the board, but he's like, this is him saying this.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not my words. He's like, Justin, I don't think people want to give money to fat people. And I'm like, Chris, you're so judgmental, dude. I'm like, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
But in his mind, that's what he's created for himself. And I'm like, Chris, your integrity and what you know and is far more important than that. But I would agree that, level of fitness just so you're healthy.
Yeah.
I'm like, Chris, I don't want you to lose weight. I want you to lose weight so you don't die.
Yeah.
Okay. We want you here.
Yeah.
And we want you, your family and your kids and everybody. But he looks at it totally differently. I'm like, dude, calm down. It's very interesting how that works. But people do make visuals on that. And I think Brad Lee was even talking about it. And other folks saying, hey, like Andy Elliott, right? He's a wild man.
He is wild.
I got to meet him and his wife down at the Patrick Bet-David conference.
Oh, you did?
He was sitting, because with my son, I had Brody, and he was sitting right in front of us.
Nice.
The tickets we got. And his wife comes over and I was talking to Jacqueline, and then he was taking some photos with some people. That guy is unbelievable.
Yeah, pretty intense.
You think? You think?
Yeah, he's pretty intense.
I mean, I got a chance to say hi to him and stuff, and him and his wife, and we even stayed connected a bit. But
that's cool.
He's an intense human being. He's going after it at full throttle, and bringing the pain, man. But there is no filtering.
Yeah.
What he says. Who else have you met that's kind of inspired you? Obviously, you have some connections with Ryan Panetta a bit. Anyone else?
A lot of people. Yeah.
Talk about him.
I met Brad Lee last October at his mastermind. I almost did a post with him today, but I just haven't posted yet. So Brad Lee's been good. I just like how real and authentic he is.
Yeah.
So I try and take little parts and pieces from people. Like I don't, like maybe with Grant Cardone, I love his talk about like real estate, and a lot of the stuff he says like motivates people. So I like that. And I'll take parts and pieces of everybody to kind of inform whoever it is that I am, right? And then, so Brad Lee, Grant Cardone, obviously, Ryan Pineda. Who else have I met? Those are probably the main
We
ones.
met Beardy Brandon together.
Yeah, we did.
That was cool.
At the penthouse party.
Yeah, with Brad Lee was up there, which was cool. I got to meet him and his wife just for a split second. Take a little selfie action.
Yep.
I was amazed at how approachable Brandon Turner was, Mr. Beardy Brandon. He was cool as shit.
He's a people guy.
Unbelievable. He's wearing flip-flops.
Oh, yeah.
Multi gazillionaire millionaire, dude.
That's the best.
Thousands of units and mobile home parks. And
those are the wealthiest people.
And he's sitting there signing books and saying hi, and we're chatting in the elevator together, and he's like, mahalo.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, God, this is amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
He was very, very approachable. I was blown away by that.
Absolutely.
Have you met Jeff Fenster?
No, I need to get connected with him, though, because I was walking into Rich Summers' podcast, and he was walking out, and I didn't know him. I didn't know him at the time, but I said what's up to him, and then I saw him on stage at Ryan's conference last month. Okay, and I need to meet him.
San Diego kid.
Yep.
And is
that his book?
That is his book. Great book. I always actually, because it's funny, people read books and then they get pieces out of them, but then they forget like where those little tidbits are at.
Yeah.
So I always mark them with little little tabs.
That's smart.
And hardback it, or use a Kindle, one or the other, so I can at least go back and look at summaries of it and remember these things. That
Ed Milet, Power of One More.
Power One More. Have you read this book?
No, I have it on Audible, and I've listened to half of it.
Have you met him?
Yes.
You have?
I was at...
Talk about that.
Yeah, that's a great point. I was at WealthCon earlier this month, a few weeks ago. And
so that's where Jeff Fenster at that one?
Jeff was there on stage.
And Jen Gottlieb?
Yes, she was there.
Okay.
I was front row, saw her speak. She was great. She talked about how she did a lot of live streaming when she was on the come up story, trying to get known. And that was cool because I'm getting into a lot of live streaming. So
does that work?
Yeah, I think so. It does because a lot of people, say you're big, like Grant or Ryan, right? They don't really have time to do that stuff.
Right.
And so it almost brings an advantage to a smaller guy to break into the industry because you get to know me a little bit more and what I'm about. It's not pre-recorded. It's not a sit-down, talk to a real type thing. It's just authentic me. And I think people want that. I think there's a lack in the industry.
Where do you typically do them at?
I do them from my living room.
You're like, I'm sitting on my toilet.
Yeah. Well, we have a set we do, kind of this actually.
Yeah.
And we'll have one camera set up with the lights and the whole thing, and me and Brandon just go back and forth. And he kind of interviews me. I'm seen as the real estate professional. I got the idea from Grant Cardone. He used to do a bunch of those on YouTube, and I'd tune in every Monday at 12 to learn the real estate game. Like I would not miss one. And
they were his live streams. YouTube live streams.
Yeah, they're all over YouTube still to this day.
So he wouldn't do the Instagram live streams?
No, it was on YouTube. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. So Jeff Fenster, amazing story. Got so much out of him. So we connected through social media because he's a San Diego kid. So I reached out to him and I'm like, hey man, love what you're doing, blah, blah, blah. He saw I was from San Diego, so we started chatting. And then I said, hey, I'd love to interview you about how giving and helping other people has kind of created abundance for you in your life. And we do it through the Abundance2Give podcast, hence how the podcast was formed with the inspiration of Mr. Beast.
Yeah.
And he loved that idea. So we started chatting and then, got in. I interviewed him up at his studio in San Marcos.
Nice studio, by the way.
Beautiful studio. Beautiful studio. And we connected. He didn't even know what I did for a living. He just thought I was a podcast guy. And then we get in there and he's like, so what do you do? And I'm like, I do multifamily. I'm a real estate guy. And I'm a real estate guy. That's what I do every day. And he's like, oh, really? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, I'm trying to get into this real estate thing. Nice. I'm like, are you? He's like, yeah, I'm buying some single family kind of homes, 6 here in Georgia and 6 over here. And I'm like, no. Stop that right now, Jeff. I said, stop buying single family.
Yeah.
And then he's like, why? And then we got into it. Once he understood the value of the multifamily side and apartments, I've helped him kind of underwrite some deals, look at some things, connect on that level. There's one coming out soon where we actually sat down and underwrote a deal right in front of him.
Love that.
And allow him to kind of banter back and forth and ask a bunch of questions.
Yep.
Is like a novice would, and learn as we kind of literally underwrite it on screen. But yeah, his story is incredible because Jeff Fenster, born and raised here, Scripps Ranch.
Yep.
And got into kind of the business side of things, but wanted to start a payroll company, but had no idea about payroll. Zero. Zilch.
Yeah.
And he laughs about this and talks about it, but he's like, my relationship bank accounts. And I knew so-and-so and knew so-and-so. And I called him. I said, hey, I want to start a payroll company. I know nothing about payroll. Can you teach me?
Yep.
And then he got into it, learned it, built it, sold it, had an exit, did really well. And then he wanted to get into digital marketing. He's like, I have no idea how to do digital agency, digital marketing, any of this marketing stuff online. But he connected with a friend that connected him with Neil Patel.
Nice.
Right? Google dude. And so he started his digital marketing agency, did very well with it and still has it today, but sold off a piece. And most of it's through Neil Patel and they've partnered. And then he wanted to go after his passion project, which is Everbowl.
That's the one I knew about. I didn't know about these others.
Superfoods and all this other stuff. So he got into his passion project, which is Everbowl.
Okay.
And they started obviously locally in San Diego, all self-owned and managed, all internal. And then COVID hit and they realized, oh crap, like we have to go from this model that we did have to this other model of like in-home delivery. And then they got into the franchising. And then somehow he connected with Shaquille O'Neal and Drew Brees and Dan Fleischman and like all these other people that have now come into the circle.
Yep.
His Rolodex is off the chart. It's unbelievable.
It's
and it's all done. He'll keep talking about it. Relationship capital. He's leveraged the ability to connect with people and bring value to them without asking for anything in return.
Yep.
To build these relationships to open up doors. And that is his motto. I mean, this book is incredible. People should read it so you'll truly understand how to implement it, grow it, and come at it from a very authentic, genuine place of never trying to give or get. It's about just, hey, I want to add value to your life, add value to what you're doing, bring value to you, which in turn will find its way back in some way, shape, or form, whether it's now or a year from now. So that was pretty incredible learning from him.
Check that book out.
Yeah, highly recommend it.
Awesome.
Roland Frazier.
Zero Down.
Zero Down. Have you read this?
Never heard of him. No.
Free book.
Really?
Free book. So he's the man of understanding how to acquire companies.
Okay.
For Zero Down. Kent Clothier. You know Kent Clothier?
Yeah, I just spoke at an event that he spoke at.
Local guy here in San Diego. So I went to his mastermind he had, and Roland was there. Very well-known guy. And it's amazing how all of these folks, whether it's Ryan Panetta, Kent Clothier, Jeff Fenster, Ed Milet. I mean, the list goes on and on. They're all interconnected. Dan Fleischman.
They all know each other.
They're all interconnected.
It's like a fraternity.
Big time. I mean, you could take the top probably 50 influencers that you probably, in this space that you see online right now, and they all hang out. Yeah. And they all know each other.
Yep.
Probably drink wine and break bread.
Probably. Most likely.
Talk about some other folks that have inspired you.
So Ed Milet, I met him just walking through WealthCon, stopped by, chatted with him for a little bit. Really enjoyed his speech at WealthCon where he's talking about his dad. Yeah. He was an alcoholic, all these things. I resonated with a lot of stuff he said.
Did he talk about the door thing and the keys?
He did. He just got
that
really...
had me like freaking bawling.
Yeah. He got really good at picking up things. And
pattern recognition.
Yeah, exactly. And so now he uses that in his life now. But he really inspired me up there. I know he got a lot of people to tear up at the end of his speech. And it was crazy. Ryan paid him $100K to come and speak at an event like that. So that was interesting to me to see that someone can make that much money.
Oh, yeah.
For a speech like that.
Yeah, I just went and, they had Gary Vee up. Gary Vee's making at least $100,000 to $200,000 per speaking event.
How do you say no to that?
You don't.
You don't, right? Yeah.
You don't.
Do you think the traveling, like, at what point, how many times, like, how many speeches do you think you could do a year? I want to switch this around on you. How many speeches do you think you could do a year if you're making $100K a pop, but before you're like, I can't travel anymore. This is too much for me.
Oof. I don't even know. I mean, you would probably want to strategically plan them out. So if you're coming to the West Coast and you're doing one, right? Yeah. You could do, a few in a week, technically. But yeah, if you're having to travel across the country trying to pull that off, that's where it's going to start to beat you up.
The wear and tear.
But if you're having to go a couple hours here or there, and then you just plan your family time out and stuff around that and have non-negotiables, there's people that make an incredible living out of that.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting.
I know that that's something you're interested in terms of doing the 10X stages and talks. What did you learn about the 10X stages processing? They talk about episodic storytelling, stuff like this. What did you learn going through that program, and how's it helped you? Because you're doing more stage talks.
Yeah. The physical stage, not as much. I've done a few, and I'm getting more comfortable with it. It's definitely like a skill set, just like anything else, and I'm happy to start and learn. I think the podcast led to live streaming, which is now leading to talking on stages. It became more natural when I spoke with Ryan and Kent at that last event. It was 300 people. I was nervous, but once I got up there, it was like just like this. It was the same thing.
Yeah.
So that's been nice. What I learned with 10X stages is it's a whole different world. Like, a lot of the times people try to be solopreneurs, and I struggle with that. I try and do things myself all the time. And with 10X stages, what I learned is you really need someone out there actively going and getting you on these stages. And it doesn't have to be physical stages. It could be, you create your own stage, like what I'm doing with my podcast. I can hop on your stage. This is a stage right now.
Of course it is.
And so they talk about digital stages and physical stages. And when you can mix both of those together, that's what Grant, that's what he did on his come up stories. He was doing a lot of physical stages. 200 shows a year, traveling across the U.S., but the wear and tear on the body and the mind and the traveling and not sleeping in your own bed and all the nonsense. Like
200 shows a year. Yeah. At what point, what years was he doing that?
I believe it was when he was 33, 34. So right around my age.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's when he was doing all his seminars for car salesmen.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Do you know his story here in San Diego?
Yeah, I do.
Are you familiar with Grant Cardone's story here in San Diego?
I mean, do you know it pretty well?
Yeah, very well.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
very well.
I have some detail. I mean, I know some stuff, but yeah, let's chat about that.
So you know Rudy Medina?
I do.
Okay. So Rudy Medina and Grant Cardone were partners.
Yes.
And Grant Cardone was living here in San Diego. And he talks about this
Camino de la Costa.
Camino de la Costa. Walked across the street one day, and Anna Marie Bernard,
Yes.
a broker here in San Diego, was getting ready to list a house on the waterfront near Windansea Beach.
Yep.
He peeked over the fence. He's looking at it, and he talks about this all the time. And
Yeah.
he's like, what are you guys doing? She's like, well, I'm going to list the house. You want to come take a look? He's like, of course.
Yeah.
Grant. So he comes in, looks at it, and he says, we're buying this house.
Yep.
So he ends up buying it for $4 million and some change, ends up flipping it with partners and everybody for over $9 million.
Picked up 5.
Big chunk.
Yep.
And he talks about like that was his first big chunk of cash wad that he had at like one time, one big fat ass check.
And back then that was probably worth like
A lot of money.
Yeah, $5 million.
A lot of money. And so that's kind of what got him with a big chunk. And then he's like, well, what the hell do I do with it? And so he had ended up running into a couple different brokers. One of them was Rudy Medina.
Marcus and Millchap.
He was his broker for him, and Rudy had to like convince him into the multifamily game. He's like, dude, you need to buy some apartment buildings. And Grant's like, oh, fuck apartments and all this other stuff, right? This is like funny stuff. And then fast forward, they get into a deal, I believe it was in North Park, and then one in Vista. 48 unit in Vista. It was Point Loma.
Point Loma.
27 unit in Point Loma, and then a 48 unit in Vista.
I'm trying to buy that deal in Vista to this day.
That exact one?
I'm reaching out to the seller actively. They don't respond to me, but I'm just like, I got to buy that asset to tell Grant I bought it.
No shit. That'd be a beautiful story. Stand there right in front, do a little selfie.
Yeah.
So that's how he got into his first 2 multifamilies. Him and Rudy had partnered on them. And then Grant ended up going into Arizona.
Tucson, 2,000 units.
And buying a bunch there and ended up having to park there for a while before he was able to get his money out. But then, of course, Grant's done what Grant's done and Rudy's doing his thing. But yeah, he started right here in San Diego.
I mean,
obviously out of Louisiana.
Yeah.
Did some stuff initially in Houston.
Single family home in Houston.
And then moved out here to San Diego and then obviously LA. And then went from really doing straight car salesman seminars and coaching and all that avenue, and then really launched it into the overall coaching of businesses and motivational stuff.
Life.
Right?
Yeah, everything.
Just opening the gates on it and using that as a filter funnel into funding the multifamily. Mm-hmm. And that's where he is today. But it's amazing because most people don't know that a lot of that multifamily game, his first 2 deals were right here.
Right here. That's what I tell people.
San Diego.
Yeah, I tell people start in your backyard because he probably cared about those assets a little more, knowing he could drive by them, see them, talk to the tenants, as opposed to.
Now, what do you say to people right now, though? And I talk to a lot of my mentees who maybe are in these high price states like California and New York.
Tough.
And they're like, well, do I start here? And I said, honestly, no.
Yep.
I said, if I were you, knowing what I know now, and knowing how you can manage this stuff, I would start in probably Nevada or Arizona, where it's not too far. It's a bunny hop, day trip back and forth, and you can find some deals out there that will pencil and make sense, and you have more fair-minded landlord-tenant laws.
100% agree with you on that. Okay. I'll add to that.
Yeah.
I think that if you're going into the multifamily space and doing, buying 32 plus units, 16 units, whatever, 100 units, 100%. Arizona, Nevada. I've looked in those markets. You can get some good cap rates. And I like that it's close to California. You can move the money over there. You can be there in 45 minutes.
Right.
So I agree with you on that. What I do like California still for, and San Diego and specifically because I'm here, is development. Because I can go convert a garage in PB 3 blocks from the beach, rent it out, ADUs, whatever, at my nice little 5 unit I have. And I can build that for $100K and rent it out as a 1-bedroom. Okay. But what's it worth on the exit? Well, if I was to sell that on a price per unit in PB when interest rates are a little lower, probably $625, $650 a door. Well, that spread, $500K.
So you spend $100,000 to make $600K,
and it was easy. And I always have renters. I can rent them to students. It's between Garnett and Grand main arteries.
So it'll cost you about $100,000, including permits, soft costs, hard costs.
Plans and permits $25K. The actual build out anywhere from $80 to $100, depending on how many square.
Or is that single floor, single level?
Yeah.
Without the second story, right?
Yeah, I have a 3-bed on top of it, but currently it's a 550 square foot garage I'm converting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the conversion of the garage. How much does it cost to build if you had just dirt in the backyard, put a slab, 2 floors?
Two floors. I've done 1,200 square feet by San Diego State. When I started early on in the game, $200K for the build out. Yep. $25K for plans and permits. Recently, $235,000, maybe a little more.
Okay.
Inflation.
It's called $250.
Yeah. And then plans and permits have went up. You got developer fees, school fees, plan check fees. It comes out to like $30K these days.
Okay, so let's call it under $300,000.
Yeah.
All in.
Yep.
Give or take today.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair. And then what do you think that adds in terms of value? Are you 2x, 3x on it?
I've had a lot of 2x, more than 2, like 3x, 4x returns. I've had a 6x return on a deal I put 40K in, and then we bought it.
Because when you're doing that, you're probably remodeling the front house and stuff too, right?
Yeah,
So you're doing the whole thing where you're going in, you buy the front house, maybe add some bedrooms
bedrooms.
Talk about adding walls.
We make them look nice, vinyl plank, the baseboards, all the things, because students do, especially the female tenants, they like nice stuff.
Yeah.
Their moms and dads pay their rent. So they're like, yeah, we'll pay the extra $100 to live in this location across the street. My daughter's safe to walk to campus.
Do you refurbish cabinets or new cabinets?
White shaker, brand new.
Okay. So you bring in new boxes, new countertops, new flooring, appliances, all that stuff.
Depends. Not every deal is different. And it also, I'm not doing syndications per se. I'm doing like friends and family. So say this investor doesn't want to put a lot of money in, well, then I'll work with them. Maybe we'll just repaint the cabinets, put some nice new knobs on them.
Gotcha.
Maybe this investor has more capital and they need some write-offs, whatever.
How do you structure your deals?
Everything's been 50-50 partnerships where I'll do the work, I'll roll my commissions in, and I get management once the property's stabilized. Okay. They'll typically put up the money.
All the money?
Sometimes early on in my investment career, I would get away with not putting in any money because I was on the come up. It was new. Right. Now they see the success. They're like, you're putting in money. Like they make me come in like 50-50 with them. It's fine. It's cool.
So let me understand that though. If you're coming in with 50% of the capital and you're still doing all of the work, should you not get more of the deal?
I think so. I believe you're right. That's kind of the stage I'm in now.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, just to give you a perspective on the multifamily side, we come in, if you're raising $1 million, we would bring in $100,000 of that. 90% would come up through the investors. Yep. We give the investors 70% of the deal. We take 30. Now we're also investing pari passu along the investors. So if we're giving them a preferred return, we get that too. And we would also get the 70% plus the 30%. So the 30% is really what they call a promote. The profit. That's never seen unless we produce for the investors. So if we give you the returns that we say we're going to give, then we get the promote. Otherwise, we're basically a limited partner and get the same returns you get. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. Is it like a waterfall structure?
Yeah. So it basically goes 8% preferred return, then it goes to a 70-30 split. Typically. That's a typical structure. We come in with 10% of the money. They come in with 90% of the money. They get 70% of the deal. We get 30% of it. We're doing all the work. We're signing on the loans. We're taking the risk. But with that makes sense because you bring in 10% to get 30. Plus you're obviously getting the LP benefits as well.
What kind of, is that like what kind of syndication is that? Is that a Reg?
Yeah, Reg D.
Reg D.
Reg D filing through the SEC.
Okay.
And then you can either do a 506B as in boy or 506C.
Okay.
The only difference between the two is whether or not you can publicly market and advertise the deal.
Okay.
And accredited or non-accredited investors.
Yeah. Okay.
So a Reg D filing, but you do a 506B offering, you can bring in accredited and non-accredited investors.
Is that what you do, 506B?
We do now 506C.
Okay.
Where it's accredited only.
Accredited only.
Yeah. Just for liability purposes and the size of the deals we're doing, we want to be somewhat tactful.
Okay.
And careful with that. But we can do both. You just need to, make sure if you're doing the 506B that you're really understanding how much capital your investors have. So you're not taking grandma's last 50 grand.
I see.
Because that's what the SEC is looking at. So that way, if things happen to go south, you're not taking grandma's last 50 grand and then you're on an American Greed show. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yep. Makes sense.
That's what they're trying to avoid, which makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense. But that's how we structure our deals. So yeah, with you bringing in 50% of the capital, you should be getting 70% of the deal.
Yeah.
And you're doing all the work?
And I'm doing all the work.
No. So if if the investor was like, no, I'm not doing that, then you say, great. So then I'll bring in 25-30% of the capital and then we'll still do the 50-50.
Yeah.
But you should, based on that structure, there's no way I would bring in 50% of the capital and do all the work and still get 50% of the deal.
I agree.
That'd be like, no way. I agree. That doesn't make any sense.
It's not fair.
I'm taking all the risk
and
giving you 50% of the money. So the whole structure should be, hey, you bring in the capital, or maybe you bring in 80%, I bring in 20%.
Yeah.
And then we do a 50-50 split or 60-40, something like that. And then I'll still do the work.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah.
And it's the art of the deal. Every deal is going to be different depending on some of these investors are my long-term investors and some of them are brand new. So it's just kind of coaching them through it all.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm actually curious on, what is your fitness regimen? 'Cause you're getting yoked up here, boy.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that.
Jeez.
Trying. Consistency, you know?
Boy's got some guns over here.
Got to do it. The shirt might be a little small. I got to get a bigger shirt.
Oh, my God.
I go to the gym basically every day.
Okay.
Every day. Even on an off day, I'll just stretch or do some type of ab workout. I walk a lot.
Yep.
I used to do a lot of triathlon training. So
do you, affirmations, meditations, anything like that, kind of, that's not physical side of it, but mental side of it?
Yoga.
Yoga.
That was my secret power for a little bit. I do yoga, and I think I saw you doing some of this stuff. I want to ask you about that.
It's wild.
I know.
Shit.
I know.
I was like, wow, this is incredible. I never even thought.
Like a sound bath.
Yeah. So I found out about it through a friend, and then I went. It's called Deep Space near Talmadge up in North Park. And I go in there, and I started just with the sound bath.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, what the heck? I mean, this is new to me.
I've done one before, by the way.
Let's just go in, learn about this. It seems a little bit of fruity, whatever. But I go in there, and you go in, and the vibrations, it's unbelievable. Mm-hmm. And they put you into a little bit of a trance, and that's within a small group.
Okay.
So you go through that, and there's no hypnosis technically in it, even though they say you are. You're not. I mean, at least not in my opinion. So then I actually do the one-on-one though, and that's with Lindsay there with Deep Space, and that they do hypnotic reprogramming.
Okay.
It's the wildest thing I've never been hypnotized ever.
Yeah.
And they put you into it, and you discover some things that you have no idea about. Wow. So subconscious.
Yep.
That you have no idea that it's really maybe holding you back in certain areas of your life. But you talk about it up front, just to say like things you're looking to do, what things you want to create, where you'd like to be, blah, blah, blah. And then, of course, they'll ask you, what do you think is holding you back?
Yeah.
And that's 9 times never the real issue. And then you'll find that 90% of it stems from childhood.
Yeah.
In one way, shape, or form.
Yep.
And it doesn't have to be major, but it just could be little things, right? Where, like, we discovered a couple weeks ago when I went into one of these things that I had a hard time asking for help. Mm. And she's like, why? Like, why? You don't think you're a burden? So what we discovered was I felt that if I ask for help, I'm a burden.
Yeah.
And then she's like, well, why do you think you're a burden? I said, I don't know. It's just how I feel. Like don't ask for help. Go do it yourself. And then if you can't do it yourself, maybe you ask, but you just don't want to feel like you're a burden on anyone. She's like, okay, well, let's discover that a little bit more. So we went in, get hypnotized, walks all the way back in the suburban. And when I was 8 years old, when my parents were separating, I was in the car with me, my brother, and my sister, and we're driving away from our house towards my grandparents' house. Mm-hmm. And of course, I'm crying, upset, blah, blah, blah. And then my brother and sister are telling me to shut up and stop being like a burden on the family. Mm-hmm. That's where it settled in. Isn't that wild?
We have the same story.
Isn't that wild?
We have the exact same story.
Isn't that wild?
Yes.
And I'm like, holy shit. When you're in the middle of this, and then you come out of it. So then what happens is then my brother and sister, and it's not to their fault. It's totally subconscious. They don't realize they're doing it. They're just being siblings. But then they would always, because I was the baby in the family, mm-hmm. make me feel like if I was talking up or speaking out or asking for things, then I was therefore a burden. Shut up. Yep. Not even knowing, and they don't even realize that's happening, but that's what it creates. So then you realize, okay, just do it yourself then.
Yep.
Don't ask for help. Go solo it. So therefore, till now here we are, and then I just go do it all myself.
Yeah. It's your programming. Everything is programmed between like 0 and...
we cleared that up.
Yeah.
Once we figured it out, now it's like, oh, boom. And then they'll go in and reprogram it subconsciously while you're hypnotized.
Crazy.
Some wild shit.
We literally have the same story.
Really?
I kid you not. I'm in the back of the car. So now I just learned something new about maybe myself too. And I kind of knew this was a part of my childhood, but I'll never forget. I'm in my mom's Firebird. My parents were like, they're fighting. Me and my older brother's in the front car. He tells me some stuff, and we're driving to my grandparents' house. It's crazy how like identical our story is in that. It trips me out.
There you go.
But then I learned some stuff about myself because I am like you in a way that I need to go and do things myself. I've always been a solopreneur, but yeah, interesting.
But then when you realize that people get fulfillment out of helping others, as long as you don't come across as like a nag or a need, or you don't give back or pay it forward, then it's fine, right? But I think where people feel like, hey, dude, like, come on, like you can't just take.
Yeah.
Which is kind of why the relationship capital stuff comes in. You got to build things authentically in relationships before you can really ask for anything
Absolutely.
or feel like you can withdraw from that relationship.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting how that all works out. But yeah, I highly recommend it for anyone. If you think you don't have, hidden belief systems, when you're like, holy shit. I mean, there's other stuff that we found out too.
I'm sure.
That's
Come on,
wild.
share some stuff with us.
I'm not getting that deep right now because
Okay,
that's legit. But it's wild. I mean, nothing too crazy. I mean, I had a pretty fair childhood.
Yeah.
And then coming up, but you learn a lot of really amazing things when you go in. I mean, and I'd never done it before, but now I'm once a month for the one-on-one, and then usually every other week on the sound baths. But that's helped really bring another level of kind of calm.
Yeah. Has it helped with all this stuff, like the content creation, the podcasting? Because you see,
not so much that end of it, but it's a twofold process. So, and I had Josh Hudson on the podcast recently. He's a behavioral psychologist, marriage therapist, relationship therapist, however you want to call it. And this guy is unreal. So I've seen a lot of therapist people, people in general that have their stuff together, but he hands down is the best I've ever seen at understanding female psychology, the difference between how men and women process emotions, and how to make men the best versions of themselves. High value, as we call it, high value men.
Yep.
So once you kind of go through that programming in combination with the hypnotic reprogramming, holy cow, it brings a total different shift to your mind as a man, because he helps men only, not women, but just leveling up and becoming that high value human being to attract high value things in your life. And it could be relationships, could be business, could be women, if that's what it is, whatever it is in general, but how to become and be the highest value of yourself.
Love that.
100%.
Cool. I got to look into him.
Yeah, he's incredible. He was on here, and I mean, I was just telling Kevin, like, we just put the podcast up, and it has like 1,500 views on YouTube, and within a few days.
That's insane.
And it's going up, but he's blowing up.
How many episodes do you have?
I think we're at 23 now.
Okay. How long have you been at it for?
Year and a half.
Okay, cool.
But like we were mentioning, we were doing only one a month.
Yeah.
We weren't really pushing it because we got so much other stuff going on. It's tough to just come in here and do a podcast, but it is important. And I think what's cool about the podcasting side of it is the relationships and people you get to meet.
Absolutely.
And
like him, you got to meet him.
Like him. Yep. I mean, it's hands down. You get to learn about people, build those relationships, and then you come at it from an authentic place, which is why we wanted the Abundance to Give.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to do a podcast simply to do a podcast and interview super successful people and all this about, hey, how'd you do it? Give me your 10-step program.
Yeah.
I wanted to come in and really ask you, and this is kind of where we can finish up, is tell me about some causes and passions that are near and dear to your heart.
Okay.
Because that's your driving force. And that's what, we like to give to and help out with, because when you realize how much giving and helping others, law of reciprocity, brings back to you.
Yep.
Hence the abundance to give.
Got it.
Right?
Yeah. I went to I'll touch on this a little bit, because I went to they help you with limiting beliefs. It's called Size Seminars. Lululemon sends all their execs to something similar. I forgot what that one's called. But so I've been going to this stuff, and that's what they teach there. It's all about giving and giving to give, not to get anything in return, which is everything you've been saying. So I love that that's what your podcast is about. To touch on like some causes that are near and dear to me, I've been thinking about starting a nonprofit. I'm looking into it. And one of the things I wanted to do was, I build homes, right? Mm-hmm. And I wanted to tie that into what I do and what my students are eventually going to do. They're going to build homes. They're going to build ADUs all across America. That's my big, grand vision. But where can I do that in these other countries? And of course, Mexico is so close.
Sure.
And so I've been looking into doing some things there where I'm going to Mexico on mission trips with other people in my communities, and we're building homes. Okay. And so that's something that I want to look into, and that I am actively.
Yeah, there's Seth O'Byrne was doing that down there with Sotheby's. I forget what the name of the organization that does it currently. Mm-hmm. I have to look into it and see, but they have a really cool organization that goes down there. They'll take a week or weekend and they'll build. It's pretty cool what they do. But yeah, hands down. I mean, is there a reason, because I know the real estate side, why it's building homes?
I just think that to have like a big impact, you got to get people like behind it. And because I'm already in the real estate field, because I build ADUs here in America, like I think I can get a lot of hype around that, and so
Gotcha.
we can have a bigger impact if I just lean into that, as opposed to me going and creating shoes, which I have a buddy from my 360, Daryl. He does shoes, and that he's done very well in that. He's kind of been my mentor in this space. So that's why I wouldn't go and do that, because I don't know how much momentum I could get with that. Whereas homes, I could be like,
Well, it's connected to real estate for you. And you probably you clearly have a passion for it.
yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah. So when I went recently to the Patrick Bet David conference, the Vault down in Miami, Florida.
Yeah.
Him, Tom Brady, Mike Tyson, Will Guerra, all these other folks down there. He gets up on stage, Patrick, and he says, "Hey, does anybody here understand the 7 mountains that move a nation or move nations and inspire people?"
Okay.
And of course, everybody's like, "No." And then so he puts the graphic up on the screen, and he says, "Here's what's really important." And this is why a lot of people go out and make a bunch of money and they'll still feel very unfulfilled, right? Or they make a bunch of money and then they'll pull their foot off the throttle because they'll get complacent or content, and they're just not motivated every day to like really push forward or go even bigger and go more, because they hit a certain form of comfortability. And he says the reason why that's happening is because they're driven by the money and what the money gives them or whatever it is, and not one of these 7 mountains. And so he puts them up and he says, you need to choose, and this is where we did the self-identity project and all this stuff. You need to choose which one of these really impact you and get you excited and inspired. So look at these and you tell me which ones move you. And he says, here's mine. And so this is Patrick Bet David, and it's sports, entertainment, and culture. That's one mountain. Media. So sports, entertainment, media, business, religion, family, education, and I'm gonna miss the other one. We'll forget about that one for a minute.
Fitness.
No. I already got religion.
Health, mind, body, spirit.
I'll figure it out.
Okay.
Give me a minute. So, government.
Oh, okay.
Government. Okay. Government. And he says, this is how mine work. And this is his big plan. And it's amazing
This
how
is Patrick, right?
Patrick Bet David.
Okay.
This is how he envisions this. He says, listen, I can't run for president.
Not
He
yet.
says, I'm Armenian / that's Iraqi, Armenian. Yeah. He says, I can't run for president. I wasn't born here.
Oh.
So he says, but here's how we can affect government and maybe affect policies, because that's one of my mountains. That's what I'm passionate about, is making sure that people understand that the United States is the greatest country on earth. You know, I understand some people may not like this country. They get mad at it, whatever it is. You have the ability to voice that opinion, but you have no idea how good you got it if you're born in this country. And you are so blessed. So he obviously preaches this, belief in the system. So he says, listen, I can't directly affect government, but it's a passion of mine. It's a mountain. But he says, I can use business. So he sold his companies for $100 or $200 million bucks.
Yeah.
Right. His insurance company.
Yep.
And he says, with that, we've created the media company, which is Valuetainment. Another big passion of mine, where now we can talk about things and affect and move people through the media company. I'm going to build one of the biggest media companies in the world through Valuetainment. So that's, now you got media, business, right? And then he has government and education, and then family. That's like his other one. So he says, if we can use business and media to move things, right, then we can obviously affect government, and then my family is my passion, how to give back and help people and influence the world. So he says, those are my mountains.
I love it.
Right. And then that's what gets me up every day. Because he says, otherwise, I just sold my companies. I made a couple $100 million bucks. I got a couple $100 million bucks in cash sitting in my bank account right now. He says, I don't need to do shit.
Yeah.
But he says, now what like moves me to like get up and even stay more driven is this, and this that are passions for him.
Yeah.
Right. Because he says, if you don't have that, then you're just driven by the dollar, and you'll get comfortable and just go play golf.
Yeah. Go surf. Go hang out at the beach.
So that was his thing. So it got me thinking about, okay, well, which ones like are mine? And I said, okay, well, business, media, family, and education. Like those are like the big ones on my board. So great. I'll use my businesses to have the success, to then pivot into the media, which is creating the Abundance2Give media podcast and the media company with it, right? Which then we can use to help educate people on how to invest for themselves and learn multifamily investing, which then goes straight to the family side, which is not just taking care of my personal family, which is obvious, but my 3 big passions are to Do you know what the Tunnels to Towers organization
No.
is? Okay, so they pay off the mortgages of widows from fallen soldiers or first responders in the line of duty. So it was founded after 9/11, Tunnels to Towers, to help pay off the mortgages of widows left behind by policemen and firefighters from 9/11. And then it expanded into soldiers. So they'll go and literally see a left behind wife, spouse that has 2 kids. Well, they had their breadwinner just die. How do they now financially afford? So they pay off their mortgage for them.
Wow.
Make sure they have a house free and clear. And then they do that for soldiers, firemen, and firefighters, mainly first responders, and soldiers. So I want to pay off 100,000 mortgages through that organization. That's number one.
I love that.
Number 2 is, did you know that 22 Navy SEALs per day commit suicide?
I did not.
Wild.
That is wild. That's
So
wild.
through the SEAL Future Foundation, who I'm connected through now, I want to help, promote and give money and time and energy I can to help save those lives every day. And then lastly, give to 1 million disadvantaged kids throughout the United States to mentor and give financial literacy to kids to help on their come up.
Yeah.
Right. So those 3 are like my drives, and everything else helps fund that.
I love
Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
So that's kind of like, okay, you can go make a bunch of money, but at some point you'll lose the passion for it if you're just driven by the money.
It's like the Simon Sinek, start with why. Like, what's your why? And you've identified that, and you just reverse engineer how to do it now.
Back into it. So now if you go make a bunch of money, then you're still driven. Well, yeah, I haven't paid off 100,000 houses yet. And I haven't, affected 1 million kids, and I haven't, helped the 22 people per day, so then
I have a buddy who just had a huge exit on a company, and he called me, and he's dealing with that. He's not fulfilled.
Yeah.
I was like,
because he has all the money.
Yeah, exactly.
He doesn't have to do shit.
He doesn't.
So he needs to go through this 7 mountain process,
Yeah.
self-identity, and saying, okay, which one of these 7 mountains am I most inspired by?
No.
And then use that as your driving picks moving forward. Because he's had successful business, maybe has family. So he needs to look at, okay, where are the passions at?
Yeah.
And use one of those to drive your purpose moving forward.
Absolutely.
Because that'll keep him going and going and going and going and going every day to get like.
He's a young guy. He's in his 30s.
He'll get excited, wake up every day with like a boost in his body going after one of those 7 or a combination thereof.
Absolutely.
So I thought that was amazing. That was the one piece that I picked away, not to mention how incredible Tom Brady's mind is.
Yeah.
I mean, you know why that guy's the GOAT.
I saw
5 minutes on stage, I was like, bro.
He spoke at GrowthCon. It was good.
Wow.
In February, earlier this year. So when I saw that you were there, I think somehow I saw that. I was like, oh, you're going to enjoy that.
Yeah, that guy's mind.
Did you know this?
Is unreal.
He's so like determined, like whatever it is in his career he's trying to do. He's doing public speaking now. He hired a vocal coach. Like that's like the attention to detail to be the best. Like that's something I'm like, man, if he's doing that, why am I not doing that?
Yeah.
Like,
That is one thing that came out of it. He was always 3rd, 4th, or 7th on the depth chart.
yeah.
From Sarah High School in California all the way through Michigan, where he came on and he was like, I think 6th or 7th on the depth chart, to where he gets drafted by New England and he's like 4th on the depth chart. Drew Bledsoe just keeps going down. He was always on the bottom of the depth chart, but he always kept telling the coaches, guys, you put me on the field, you're never taking me off. And he just had this mindset. And people asked him, he said, was it the trophies that kept you going? Is it the accolades to, break all these records? He's like, no. And then Patrick's like, well, what the hell was it, dude? Like, how do you keep the energy that you do? He says, honestly, I lived in fear in a way of not being the best teammate I could be to my teammates and letting them down.
Yeah.
Like that was his daily driver, which is why he kept pushing and pushing and pushing. It had nothing to do with the Super Bowl trophies or the money or, all the records he broke, which is countless. It was always a matter of, I was driven every day by coming in and disappointing my teammates.
That's all it takes.
He's like, I lived in that kind of bubble of fear of like, oh my God, if I don't show up this Sunday, if I don't show up this week, if I don't do these things, if I don't have this discipline and like the attention to detail that he had, then I'm not going to be the best teammate. I'm going to disappoint them. And then that's like my greatest fear.
Yeah.
I was like,
It's crazy how that
shit.
works.
And you could see this like in his eyes. And I'm like,
You see that in Michael Jordan.
I'm like, no wonder you're the freaking GOAT, bro.
Michael Jordan cut from the basketball team.
Yeah.
Boom. It's those little moments. I was cut from my high school summer league. That still stings. And
Wow.
a lot of drive. It helps drive you forward.
It's wild stuff.
Yeah.
Well, we're in an hour, man.
Already. That was
we
fast.
just talky.
Boom. Love it.
Anything you want to leave us with? Any moments of inspiration?
I would say I'd leave people with, if you're feeling like you want to get into real estate, right? Maybe you want to go do some syndications, maybe you want to go flip some homes, wholesale, whatever. There's a lot of fear in the marketplace right now.
Yeah.
And I think that when I saw my growth and my success, it was 2020. Everyone was freaking out. They're like, the worst time to buy. And that's when I went on my buying run. I bought like a house a month for
during COVID.
Yeah, I was just swooping everything up. And I remember being fearful. And I think, what's his name? Warren Buffett says, be fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful. And I live by that. And right now there's this fear in the marketplace, 8% interest rates, all this stuff. And so I'm like, I'm about to buy a bunch of stuff right now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And usually it's when, there's blood in the water in a way. And there's not blood in the water, but you do have some uncertainty in general, even though certain economic indicators are positive and the jobs and consumer this, consumer that. But then there's other sides of it. You're like, but this doesn't add up. Like something's going to break. And I think that's where everybody's kind of like, grabbing onto. And then you have geopolitical issues and all these other things. I say cut out the noise.
I like that.
Put your blinders on.
100%.
Cut out the noise, put your blinders on, stick to some numbers, but you got to learn. Now is the time to learn the craft if you don't know it. Get educated, build your network, build the people, get involved in it, even if you're not executing like live in real time. Because if you're trying to play that catch-up game when things are going down, if you're waiting for a change in the market, you're going to be way behind the curve.
Absolutely.
Like you got to get in now, dabble in, get comfortable with it, and then just, even if it's dabbling in it, get educated in it, build the database, build the people, network, because that's 90% of it. What do they say? The more hands you shake, the more money you make, baby.
Yep, something like that.
The more hands you shake, the more money you make. And surrounding yourself with good people, relationship capital, and building those networks, I think is really, really key.
I love that.
So glad I ran into you at the Ryan Panetta conference in a penthouse.
That's right. That's how it happens.
We were booming.
That's right. You just got me the right rooms. I tell people that. Get in the right rooms and then things happen.
And pay to play. I didn't realize how important it was, because I used to go to these conferences and just maybe get general admission, right? Sit in the back and just get my tidbits, but I was never getting movement from it. And then I met somebody, they said, no, bro.
Pay to be in the front.
Pay to be in the front.
VIP. Grant says
get in the green rooms, get in the back rooms, get into the parties and connect with people, because he's like, the more hands you shake, the more money you make.
Yep.
And you get to connect and be around other like-minded people. And yeah, it may be $5,000, $10,000, $3,000, $2,000, whatever the number is. I don't care.
Yeah.
He says there's no point in going to these conferences if you're sitting in the back.
100%.
0 point.
Yeah.
Get in the front, shake hands with people. I mean,
you got to be seen. You want to be seen.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. If I didn't pay what I did to go to the Patrick Bet-David one with my son, I wouldn't have never met Andy Elliott and Jacqueline Elliott right in front of us, because I would never had that chance. I wouldn't have the chance to meet, all these Sean Cannell and Cole Thompson and all these guys that are just doing amazing things in the industry. Would never have that chance. Had I sat in the back and just got general administration.
It's not who you know, it's who knows you.
Ooh, I like that one.
Yeah. So ask yourself, who knows you?
It's good point, man. Good point. We're going to end on that.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Signing off on Abundance2Give podcast. Mr. Chris Luna, you can find him. Where can they find you, man? Just Google you, YouTube?
I'm all over Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter.
What is your handle? We'll throw it up, but what is your handle?
ChrisJ.Luna. ChrisJ.Luna.
Check out his podcast, On the Come Up.
On the Come Up.
It's on the come up, literally.
On the come up. We got a backyard billionaire education company teaching people how to build ADUs. That's something we're doing, and I post daily content.
Yeah, you can go onto his stuff. He's got some courses, master courses and stuff if you're trying to get into that and really learn that avenue of the ADUs and real estate investing in general.
Absolutely.
Great resource, man. Thanks for your time.
Appreciate you.
Signing off.
Peace.